Shalom to the elect of Israel, to the hopeful elect of Israel, you Hebrew Israelites, you so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans, West Indians, and Haitians. Got to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shah. The Most High, the Heavenly Father. His Hebrew name is Yahweh. Not Yahweh, not Jehovah, not God, not Elohim, not Most High, not Lord, not Yah, not Jah, not Ahai, not Allah, not Abba, not Yahuwah. It's Yahweh. And his only begotten son name in the Hebrew is Yahweh Shah. Not Yahshua, not Yeshua, not Jesus Christos, not Jesus Christ. Not Serapis Christos, not Yeshaya, not Yehoshua, not Yahusha. It's Yahweh Shah. So we got to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh. Bahashem Yahweh Shah, Bahashem Rekah Kodash. Give honors to the apostles and the bishop and elders of Great Millstone, who are well, who teach well, who are the apostles and elders of all of Israel, whether accepted or not. And a sincere salutation to all the arcing, pushing this truth and believing this truth, to the four winds of the earth, the entire world, sharing light to the hopeful elect. Shalom to the Akbar who are listening learning, and if you sisters who are listening learning. I'm Isaiah from Jim Messolano Camp, coming as another lesson of truth, facts, faith, and edification. Under the date of edification, Lord, which better find. So I titled this lesson, "The judgment is as the light that goeth forth." And this judgment is of the so-called white man. And as we watch the fall of the last so-called white man's empire collapse, the Lord said he was going to make their tongue to fall upon themselves. So I got two videos I want to play. I got three in all. Two I had saw. One was sent to me. So, and I just build off these three videos because the so-called white man kingdom is falling, and the Edomites see that the last rulership is falling. This is like mainstream media, mainstream news that America is likened to the revived Roman Empire, according to these Edomites. And everybody see this. So it's very spiritual. So the Lord wasn't be able to find. Turn the fight now here. If it be infomercials, Salakia. But I want to bring this out. So check this out. These are Edomites telling you what the scriptures say.
The sheer military dominance of America is shocking. We spend more on our military than most developed countries combined. We've been the global superpower since World War II, and with all of our nukes, money, and technological superiority, people feel pretty comfy. And yet, if there was another global conflict, whether it was with Russia, China, or the whole Islamic world, I think America would have a rough go. I'm not here to fearmonger or celebrate the collapse of American society. In fact, I love America, but something is deeply wrong with our culture. And in this video, I want to explain how we have lost the one thing that defines a healthy nation. Without it, we're going to continue to be self-destructive in peace and vulnerable in any conflict. The one thing we lack is a sabia. This is an old Arabic word that means a shared group feeling or a social bond that holds people together. Ibn Khaldun was a 14th century historian, sociologist, and philosopher whose work laid the foundation for several modern social sciences.
That's spiritual. He said that because the Lord said, let me run this back. Let's run this back. But the Lord said he came to bring division.
People together. Ibn Khaldun was a 14th century historian nation. Without it, we're going to continue to be self-destructive in peace and vulnerable in any conflict. The one thing we lack is a sabia. This is an old Arabic word that means a shared group feeling or a social bond that holds people together.
Well, the Lord said in Luke chapter 12 and 51, it reads, "Suppose ye that I am come to give peace on earth, I tell you neighbor, rather division."
Ibn Khaldun was a 14th century historian, sociologist, and philosopher whose work laid the foundation for several modern social sciences. I'm surprised his work is not more widely read. He is best known for his book Mukaddima, which offered radical new insights into the rise and fall of civilizations. For Ibn Khaldun, Asabia wasn't just a common bond of friendship, it was in fact the driving force behind the civilizational cycle. It's the thing that brings people together into a single body and helps them overcome challenges, overcome enemies, and even establish states. For Khaldun, the true strength of a nation was not measured in wealth, but in Asabia. How much shared group feeling and cohesion do a people have? It's powerful Asabia that allows smaller forces to stand against mighty empires, and it is weak Asabia that leads to the fall of nations.
And
The
see, that's what the scripture talks about the so-called white man. In Proverbs 29, it reads that when the wicked are in authority, people mourn, but when the righteous are in authority, people rejoice. So this shows you, man, it's all spiritual and it's all scriptural.
best example of strong Asabia can be seen in small nomadic tribes, which inspired much of Khaldun's insights. Khaldun studied the Bedouins, nomadic tribes of North Africa and the Middle East, who exemplified high Asabia forged by harsh desert life. Imagine being born into a nomadic tribe like the Bedouins, or perhaps the Scythian horse warriors of the Eurasian steppe. You grow up in a tight knit community, always on the move. You train, hunt, and fight with the other boys. You care for your elders and endure hardships together. You're not an isolated individual, but you are one with the greater body. You feel immense pride in your people. Expect the best from your comrades, and you are ready to sacrifice for them. This is why the nomadic tribe is sky high in Asabia. And it's the reason that the Bedouins, Scythians, Huns, and Mongols repeatedly withstood and then conquered great empires. You see, when you have strong Asabia, the population voluntarily follows the laws and they willingly fight for the whole. But when you have weak Asabia, the people only follow the state's dictates out of habit or fear or coercion. Obviously,
See, that's the Isaiah 24 and 5, man. See, the Lord said, if these heathens will follow the laws of the Lord, everything will go perfect, man. Like the land Sabbath. That's Isaiah 24 and 5. It reads, Isaiah 24 and 3. The land shall be utterly empty and utterly spoiled, for Yahweh hath spoken this word. The earth mourneth and fadeth away. The world languisheth and fadeth away. The haughty people of the earth doeth languish. The earth also defiled under the inhabitants thereof, because they have transgressed the laws, changed the ordinance, broken the everlasting covenant. Therefore have the curse devoured the earth, and they that dwell therein are desolate. Therefore the inhabitants of the earth are burned, and few men left. So this is what he's saying. He said they followed the laws. There's an order, man, to life. There's an order to doing everything according to the standard of the earth, man, the integrity. And this is why the reason the earth is out of course, the reason the earth is cursed, because the righteous rulers of the earth is not in authority.
the latter is a very weak system that is basically just following the status quo, but it's vulnerable to any strong Asabia foe. From these insights, Ibn Khaldun recognized that Asabia is the real foundation for political and military power. Without it, you don't have shit but an empty shell. The principle of strong Asabia overcoming weak Asabia is littered throughout history. We saw it at work when small bands of German tribes united together to repel Roman legions for centuries, and then they sacked Rome in 410 and 445 AD. The Greek city-states also displayed high Asabia in the short time that they united against the Persian invaders and won a victory against mighty odds. They were fighting for everything they cherished, while the hordes of Persians didn't want to be there. This period of high Asabia, started by the 300 Spartans in the Gates of Fire, ushered in the Athenian Golden Age. A few generations later, Alexander the Great came along, fueled by the stories of his ancestors. He and his band of 30,000 Macedonians were convicted by a destiny, and they had their godlike leader. With that, they conquered the entire known world. I don't think people understand how inconceivable that was. Darius, the great king of Persia, was in possession of 2 plus.
See how he can mention that and not know that that's in the Bible. First Maccabees 1. When you read Daniel's 8, it tell you that the he goat came against the ram with the two horns. One of the horns on the ram was higher than the other. See how these Edomites can mention this and not understand that it's all prophecy because they carnal minded. But he making some beautiful points.
Million troops, not to mention a tremendous storehouse of gold. In the legendary quest of Alexander, we see Khaldun's insight that when High Asabia is united around a royal authority, whether it's a messiah or a great king, small forces can overcome mighty empires. Frank Herbert's Dune, for instance, inspired largely by Islamic and Berber cultures, is a story of Asabia. Herbert most definitely read Ibn Khaldun and used his ideas as the foundation for his work. Paul Atreides represented the royal authority. When he claimed his role as the Messiah, he became the figurehead for the immense Asabia of the Fremen. These lowly desert nomads united together into a single body under Paul Atreides, and they had the Asabia to conquer the great houses and the whole empire. Although it's not a direct connection to the real world, imagine if Muslims today received a divine leader or believed a Messiah had come, and that Messiah directed a holy war. Every 12-year-old with a knife would fight to the death for their God. This is how war was waged across most of history. I'm not trying to be a doomer or stereotype anyone here, nor do I think this type of holy war is about to happen. But we have been so sheltered today. It's been so many generations since real warfare. We forgot that across history, war was the norm, peace the exception, and most people fight for a God. And the state was designed for a very
And that's
specific.
one thing that America lacks. War. He said every country knows about war. Right now in all these other countries, war is going on. You got these people that wake up to missiles and rocket launchers and rockets and bombs going off constantly. That's the norm when you leave America, man. But as the scriptures say, the virgin daughter, America gonna be spoiled. And it's gonna be the new normal here.
Civic purpose to protect the life and liberty of its citizens. But when you have too much peace and prosperity,
Yep.
citizens forget what citizenship even means, and the state forgets its function. Hence, Asabia weakens. Every citizen is just going their own way. There's no sense of civic virtue or duty, and the government is full of corrupt leaders pursuing their own selfish ends.
See, here's an Edomite talking, man. That's the Psalm 64 and 8. They should make their own tongue to fall upon themselves. All that see them shall flee away. Because everybody see this. Especially the Edomites that's losing that generation wealth and white privilege. They all see it. And they know it's the elites that's taking it back to generation wealth and white privilege.
The entire thing breaks down. And this is the civilizational cycle that Ibn Khaldun pointed out. And when a civilization is experiencing weak Asabia, they need a renewal or there will be a collapse. My dad was an Air Force fighter pilot
He
stationed
said
overseas.
basically America need a renewal or it's going to be a collapse. And there is no renewal. In Jeremiah 51, they tell you that there is no balm for this place, man. There is no balm. She cannot be healed. America will not be healed, man. And this is very spiritual because these Edomites be speaking, not knowing that what they speaking is already written down in the prophecies, man.
For 12 years. And he and my mom say that what they miss most was the camaraderie with the other couples on the base. It felt like a family they would fight for. And they struggled to recreate this sense of Asabia ever since. The demise of American values and society, especially the lack of strong community, makes civilian life very hard and alien for returning veterans. This is well documented in the book Tribe by Sebastian Junger. Today, social bonds are almost gone. People walk alone, disconnected from anything outside of work and a few friends. Something is deeply broken within the heart of the nation, and it's getting worse.
That's the 2 Timothy 3, man. 2 Timothy 3 and 1. Lovers of self, right? Lovers of pleasure more than lovers of God, boasters, proud, arrogant, disobedient to parents, truth breakers, incontinent, heady, high-minded. This is what he's mentioning, man.
Worse. This is America's real disaster. A sabia is just as important in peacetime as it is in wartime. It's just harder to maintain if you don't have an open frontier, which I talk about in many other videos. A sabia is one of the most primal human needs. We need to feel part of something larger. We need a tribe. We need belonging. And most of all, shared purpose. Americans once had this, especially in the beginning with Manifest Destiny and through World War II. But since 1950s, Asabia has plummeted, and now we are openly hostile to one another. Phones, technology, and COVID have made us increasingly isolated. Most people lack close friends and community entirely. They are citizens of nothing. Our tribal instincts are directed towards superficial pursuits like performative social justice or watching sports. To make matters worse, many men feel hated and discriminated against in society. In a recent video about citizenship, some of the top comments were, "Men won't fight for a nation that hates them." And I couldn't agree more. I know men who are built to be soldiers. They idolize it. They wanted to be.
Hey, I tell you, was that Jeremiah? It said that the men of Babylon have forborne to fight, man. What was that Jeremiah 51? Let me read this. Let me find this real quick. Is it 51? Uh, let's see. Let me pull it up on Google. He's men- he's mentioning the scriptures, man. It's beautiful to see this. It's all scripture, man. Yeah. Jeremiah 51 and 30. So it reads, the mighty men of Babylon, it's Jeremiah 51 and 30. The mighty men of Babylon have forborne to fight. They have remained in their holes, which is their dwelling places. Their might have failed. They became as women. They have burned her dwelling places. Her bars are broken. Talking about the nation is going to destroy America. Yeah, man.
Special forces operators since they were boys, and now in their 20s, they refuse to enlist because they
Great.
don't believe in the nation anymore. And they definitely don't believe in fighting for the military industrial complex or for these puppets that they see as leaders. America has zero Asabia. Actually, we have negative Asabia. And I don't see it getting any better unless we have some major changes. The bottom line is we need to get serious about tribe.
So yeah, let me go next one here. Hey, whoever you are, the Lord gonna kill you, man. That's all I got to say. Whoever you is, with that trash comment, the Lord gonna kill you, man. Don't worry, just wait for it. You're gonna be somewhere crying for your mama if you make it to Jacob's trouble, which I doubt. But the Lord might preserve you just for Jacob's trouble. And if you feel like that, do a video about it.
Channel, join our growing Discord server, and get early access to every video, consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/secondthought. Throughout the well-worn pages of history, empires have risen, grown to prominence, and collapsed in success, expansion, and ultimately collapse, unable to bear the weight of their inherent contradictions. Access to every video. Consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/second thought.
Locking, man. These devils, man. Hold on here. Hold on. Pull this back up, man. These devils, man. All right, let's do this again. Lord willing.
Discord server and get early access to every video, consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/second thought. Throughout the well-worn pages of empires have risen, grown to prominent, and collapsed to the mist of time. The Roman Empire, stretching from the sweltering sands of Africa to the murky woods of northern England. The British Empire and her dominance of the Seven Seas. Radio Shack. These and more have become the stuff of legend, each with stories of success and ultimately collapse, unable to bear the weight of their inherent contradictions. But are all empires destined to meet this fate? And the question on everyone's mind, probably because it's the title of this video, are we living through the end of an empire? In this episode, we'll take a look at the precarious position of the United States and consider some historic parallels to assess whether the US is really in decline. All right, here we go. I'm ready. Nope, that's terrible. All right, I'm ready. Rome. Or are we doing this as 2 takes? Okay, here we go. I'm ready. Rome. The empire all other empires aspire to be. From their breathtaking architecture, to their lavish feasts, to their penchant for feeding people they don't like to wild animals, Rome is truly the shining example of what other nations can only hope to accomplish. We can't really talk about empires or empires in decline without talking about the Roman one. And it just so happens that Americans, from politicians to far-right history YouTubers, love to compare the US to Rome. So, is there something to this comparison? Is the US the new Rome? In a lovely bit of cosmic irony, the first book of Edward Gibbon's ambitious 6-volume work, The History of the Decline and Fall of the Roman Empire, was published in 1776, on the eve of the birth of a new empire, one that would go on to become arguably the most powerful in history. In some ways, the United States and the Roman Empire do have a lot in common.
Behold, dear Petronius, My new road.
An insatiable desire for expansion, extreme inequality, a globe-spanning network of influence, a penchant for chattel slavery, military dominance, and decadent displays of wealth. There have been countless books, essays, political diatribes, and social media posts earnestly comparing the United States to Rome, and often for good reason. Both empires were bogged down in endless wars, both displayed a shocking level of wealth inequality, both suffered economic crises that commentators in both eras were certain would spell the final end of the golden age of civilization. And if we're being honest, both had about the same response to disease outbreaks, which is to say, those in power let a whole lot of people die and isolate that about mythologizing the United States. It's a very young country, comparatively speaking. So what better way to afford it a little extra grandeur than giving ourselves the title of the New Rome? The shining city on a hill. The glorious republic that commands the world itself. That fits very nicely into the whole manifest destiny. But first, I'm sure you've heard the phrase, the fall of Rome. Despite the popularity of the phrase, most academics have moved on from the term fall when talking about the Roman Empire. The consensus now is a single inflection point, their dramatic collapse, but an agonizing glide into a decreased standing in the world. Today, it's a failed project.
Yeah, exactly. Now, the Treaty of Rome, also known as the Treaty Establishing the European Economic Community, EEC for short, was signed on March 25th, 1957 by 6 European countries: Belgium, France, Germany, Italy, Luxembourg, the Netherlands. The treaty came into effect on January the 1st, 1958. And these nations, these 6, they mentioned Belgium, France, Germany, Italy, Luxembourg, the Netherlands. These are 6 of the horns that's on the beast, man. Revelation 17 to 16. So we know this is the revival Roman Empire, man.
The real world doesn't work like that. There were certainly some instances one could point to as chapter markers near the end of the story. For example, around the year 476, there wasn't really an emperor claiming the vast swaths of land the empire had once held with an iron fist. But if we're looking for a Marvel-esque announcement that Rome has fallen, we're not gonna find one. What we can trace, and it's easier to do so in retrospect, is a series of minor failures that go unaddressed. Crumbling infrastructure due to lack of investment, rampant corruption, severe inequality, dwindling trust in institutions or leadership, humiliating military defeat, or endless conflict sapping resources. These all add up to a very real challenge to the structure of an empire. To take the Roman example,
the military defeat, because you had Hannibal, you had these Punic Wars, which the first one he won against the Romans, but the second one he lost because of his men died out.
The city of Rome itself had been sacked multiple times, but what really did the city in was when the supply chain failed. State-subsidized grain shipments on state-subsidized ships tied up at state-subsidized docks. Eventually, as the state was less able or willing to maintain these mundane but crucial projects...
Did you hear that? Because what's going to happen is these ports going to get shut off. Let's run this back.
Multiple times, but what really did the city in was when the supply chain failed.
That's going to happen. When you read in, you got the one in Luke 21, and then you got the one in 2 Thessalonians 4 and 8. The word perplexity. It says you ain't going to have no resources for 2/3. The supply chain failure. This is coming, man. This is coming. Oh, and in Luke, let me get this. Was it Luke 19 and 42? Yep, Luke 19 and 43. For the days shall come upon thee, this is Yahushua speaking, that thy enemies shall cast a trench about thee and compass thee round and keep thee in on every side. and shall lay thee even with the ground, and thy children within thee, and they shall not leave in thee one stone upon another, because thou knewest not the time of thy visitation. And the Lord was talking to Yahweh was mentioning about 70 AD. But this is going to happen again, man. You're going to put a trench around America, and it's going to start with a supply chain. This is going to be a famine, man.
State-subsidized grain shipments on state-subsidized ships tied up at state-subsidized docks. Eventually, as the state was less able or willing to maintain these mundane but crucial projects, things sort of just fell apart over time. It's never one big collapse, it's death by 1,000 cuts.
Yep, it's a slow death,
Countless
man.
seemingly insignificant failures that together add up to an inability to function.
Hey, this is what the Lord said this in Isaiah. Man, this is fire, man. This is fire. Isaiah 14:11. Thy pomp is brought down to the grave, and the noise of thy vows, the worms is spread under thee. Matter of fact, let's read 10. All they shall speak and say unto thee, thou also become weak as we. And America is becoming weak, like third world countries. Art thou become like unto us? Thy pomp is brought down to the grave. The noise of thy vows, the worms is spread under thee, the worms cover thee. So worms covering you and spreading under thee, that's total corruption.
A useful way to think about this can be found in Isaac Asimov's Foundation trilogy, which is now actually a really good show if you're into sci-fi. Much like Harry Seldon prophesied a series of crises along the path of the Empire's long and painful collapse, so too can we take a step back and see a handful of big red dots on the timeline of American decline. I don't want to spoil the show, but suffice it to say that it has a really good understanding of the scale we're talking about when looking at the process of decline. It's not a quick and dramatic collapse. These things take decades or even centuries, but the cracks are already there, and every once in a while, a pillar buckles. The Great Depression, the Red Scare and McCarthyist pogroms, 9/11, the 2008 financial crash.
Hold on. He said every now and then a pillow buckles, right? Hold on. I gotta go back to this.
Buckles.
He said every now and then a pillow buckles. Hold on.
It's not a quick and dramatic collapse. These things take decades or even centuries, but the cracks are already there. And every once in a while, a pillar buckles.
He said every now and then a pillar buckles, right? Man, this is Amos chapter 9:1. It reads, I saw Yahweh, Bahashim Yahweh Shah, standing upon the altar. So it's lowercase. So it said, I saw Yahweh Shah standing upon the altar. And the altar, when you read in Isaiah 34, verse 5 and 6, it's going to be America. It said, in the land of Idumea, a great sacrifice. So it reads, I saw the Lord standing upon the altar, and he said, smite the lintel of the door that the post may shake. And he just said every now and then, what buckles? Let's play it again.
And every once in a while, a pillar buckles.
A pillar buckles. I saw the Lord standing upon the altar, and he said, smite the lintel of the door that the posts may shake. That's a pillar. And cut them in the head, all of them. And I will slay the last of them with the sword. The last of them is the elites. He said, cut them in the head. We're just making the point Saturday. Who is the head of the Edomites? It's Amalek, man. And the Lord said in Deuteronomy 25, they didn't have a war with Amalek forever, man. From generation to generation until he would have a war with the Edomites, the chief house of Edom, because the common so-called white man ain't nobody. It's the elites. The Lord gonna have war with them from generation to generation until the Israelites go back into the land, man. But this is talking about destroying. It's a smite the lintel of the door that the post may shake. That's the foundation of this place, man. This is what he's mentioning.
The Great Depression, the Red Scares, and
that 1928 Great Depression, man. Devastating, man. And see, the Lord already had it in the works. The fall of Babylon the Great. because that was in 28, right? 1928, 29, 1930. Then you had these devils set up the nest amongst the stars in the 60s, which is the space station, which is in Obadiah 1. They've been falling. And here it is, right here live on TV, man. Live on wax, man. Edomites been winning. See, this Edomite been doing his homework. And all these Edomites do their homework because their kingdom is falling. They run it back.
Process of decline. It's not a quick and dramatic collapse. These things take decades or even centuries, but the cracks are already there. And every once in a while, a pillar buckles. The Great Depression, the Red Scares and McCarthyist pogroms, 9/11, the 2008 financial crash and Great Recession, COVID, and now the handful of crises that have been simmering for decades and are coming to a head. The climate crisis and the collapse of US imperial control of the periphery. We're losing ground economically, militarily, and geopolitically to China. The US regime's steadfast support for the genocide of the Palestinian people has ensured no country in the Third World will ever believe our rhetoric about self-determination and freedom again. Just like that, an entire generation of Americans disabused of the myth that we're the good guys. And this is where the usual Western analysis begins to fail. A lot of people make the mistake of attributing crises of empire to the failures or excesses of individual leaders or people or groups with influence. It's always the other team that's making things go wrong. It's Trump on immigration and LGBT rights. It's Biden on funding endless proxy wars. While megalomaniacs or senile old warmongers can certainly make things worse, the underlying logic of the system in which they operate is the determining factor in how the crises they lead us through are handled. Take COVID, for example.
I know that we will achieve victory and quickly return to the path of exceptional health, safety, and prosperity for all of our citizens. We have to get back to work. Our people want to work. They want to go back. They have to go back.
Because the United States follows a capitalist economic philosophy, the key consideration during the pandemic was keeping the gears of the market turning, regardless of the human toll. The prime directive of capitalism is the accumulation of capital, and if that means we have to sacrifice low-paid workers on the altar of profit, so be it. There was no meaningful difference between on this issue, despite the two leaders being characterized as polar opposites by the media class. If you ignore the bombastic rhetoric and empty posturing on social issues,
Come on.
out. In a nutshell, resilience. The ability of the system to react to, adapt to, and overcome the challenges they're reassessing the system after an economic crisis to make sure it doesn't happen again. Taking swift action to protect people from a major disease outbreak. You can probably see where I'm going with all this. Take infrastructure. Flint, Michigan still has undrinkable water, despite the government promising to replace the water lines. Much of New Orleans is still destroyed or underwater 18 years after Hurricane Katrina. We have trains going off the rails at a rate of 4.8 derailments per day, many of those trains carrying toxic chemicals, as we saw firsthand when we went to East Palestine, Ohio earlier this year. The United States is notorious for letting its infrastructure fail and never repairing it. When it comes to economic disasters, things aren't any better. In the wake of the 07-08 financial crash and the recession that followed, nearly 10 million Americans lost their homes. Those homes were snatched up by institutional investors like BlackRock, and most of them are still held hostage on the rental market today. Did the government do anything about the conditions that led up to this crisis? Not really. They gave a couple people a slap on the wrist, but the vast majority of the criminal executives that profited from the real estate bubble and swindled the American people got off scot-free. And now, experts are saying it kinda looks like there's another bubble brewing. Most Americans are worse off now than they were in 2007. They haven't recovered. And if there is another crash, things will get even worse for even more people.
And to show you, it's worse because back in 2007. So you look at the debt clock. I remember it was at 60,000. Each person owed the government 60,000, 61,000. Before that, it was 59, 58, 50. Now they say that when you look at the debt clock, every American owed the government $101,000. How? This is the Lord destroying America, man. This place will never be healed, man. Oh, what he said, what Esau said. This is Kala Yahaba Shema Shah, man. This is Malachi 1 in verse 4, whereas Edom said, we are impoverished, but we will return and build the desolate places. Thus saith Yahweh of hosts, they shall build, but I will throw down. The Lord throwing down, man. The Lord throwing down, man. But they say on Psalms 49:11, they call their lands after their own names. And they're gonna rebuild, but the Lord's throwing down. So it's at the point now they can't rebuild. These places are being destroyed. They don't have the money, man. They don't have the time, and more than that, they don't got the time because America's at war with Israel, man. America is in a war with Israel against Iran and Russia and China, man. They don't got time to build. They don't have time to replace all these damn potholes and these bridges that's falling in America, man. This place is through. It's a slow, painful death from the inside out.
Then, of course, there's COVID. Was there an answer to curbing the death toll of the pandemic? Yes. Did American leadership know what it was? Yes. Did they follow the science and prevent those deaths? No, they did not. In fact, they did the opposite, waxing poetic about the importance of the market and how valued our frontline workers are. And then they moved on. Over 1 million people died so the line wouldn't go down for a bit. Yet another failure of the American empire. The United States relies on a system that is not and can never be resilient. Capitalism demands running the leanest operation possible. No safety nets, no guardrails. Everything delivered at the last possible moment in the bare minimum amount. Corners cut at all levels of enterprise. When all the reasonable cuts have been made, then they come for the nickels and dimes. That means stripping benefits. No more pensions, no more healthcare, no more vacation time or parental leave. It means moving from employment to gig work, full-time hours to piecemeal contracts. And all of this is just on the domestic front. Those in power don't care if they have a pissed-off workforce. They know we have to accept whatever job we can get or we starve. There's no choice there. What they do care about is maintaining their geopolitical interests abroad. But once again, because of the logic of capitalism, the empire's grip is slipping. When we're the only game in town, we can give developing countries loans with obscenely exploitative conditions. We can force them to privatize, to sell off their industry to American investors, to buy back the goods that their own resources produced at exorbitant rates. Of course, the rest of the world hates us. But we don't care. We're the dominant world power. So in our arrogance, we outsource all our manufacturing to China to cut costs. Meanwhile, China has been taking the long view, thinking 5 years ahead, 10 years ahead, following common sense development plans, raising the standard of living of their people, building high-tech, modern cities that blow our infrastructure and productive capacity out of the water. And then, eventually, while we were busy bombing a dozen countries at once and making enemies around the world, China extends their hand in collaboration. Now there's a second economic superpower in the mix, one that offers development aid without the ridiculous requirements, one that benefits all involved parties, that looks ahead to a more connected, collaborative future and not one of imperialist domination. It's no wonder the US is losing trade deals and borrowers left and right. There's simply a better alternative. And when a country that has become entirely dependent on extracting wealth from the third world loses the ability to do so, what happens? They lash out. They get more violent. They start proxy wars in geostrategic locations to try to regain the upper hand. When a more lucrative or more strategic option becomes available, they dump their previous lackey and leave them to implode and be carved up by foreign investors. There's a reason we're looking at war with Russia over Ukraine, war with China over Taiwan, and war with the entire Arab world over Israel. It's because war is the last chance the US empire has to give itself a shot in the arm and limp along for another few decades as the dominant power.
Fire, man.
Will it work? We'll see.
Nope.
But here's the thing we really need to internalize. We now live in a time where there is no longer anyone alive who remembers a time before American global dominance. Since World War II, and certainly since the illegal dissolution of the Soviet Union, the US has had very nearly uncontested control of the world. This has led to a perception among Americans, even those who are critical of the country's behavior, that the US really is special. That our empire won't go the way of all the others. That somehow we'll overcome all these to grapple with the fact that this will not be the case. We are living through the end of an empire. It may not seem dramatic, it might not fit the apocalyptic vision of collapse we've come to expect. It may take another 100 years, but the US is on the way out. The contradictions have become so sharp and the failures so frequent that it should be clear to all but the most devoted acolytes to the cult of capitalism that the American empire has begun to wane.
Hey, and it's all because of the wickedness, man. Let me get this other clip here. Let me recover these precepts. when Isaac blessed Esau, he blessed him with a carnal blessing, man. It wasn't a blessing. It wasn't a permanent blessing. It was a temporary blessing, man.
All right, guys, it looks like things are about to blow. We are starting to get some concern.
First, I want to get some of these precepts. Because when Isaac blessed Esau, this blessing, it was a temporary blessing. It wasn't permanent. It wasn't a real blessing. It was a carnal blessing. That's why he said, Esau cried to Isaac and said, Has thou not another blessing for me? He was like, it went to your brother, right? I made him Lord over thee. So he said, Has not a blessing for me, as he cried. So Isaac gave Esau a carnal blessing just to shut him up, man. He was crying. Think of, you got two sons. You didn't told the one son, you done gave him a promise, and the other son like, but Dad, you're like, man, I done already gave it to him. You ain't want to do what I told you to do, so your brother did, and I gave it to him. So he crying, so like, okay, calm down. He just gave him something, man. He gave him a carnal blessing. This is and Esau used his blessing perfectly, man, to destroy his people. Proverbs 17-13, it reads, Whoso rewardeth evil for good, evil shall not depart from his house. See? Proverbs 17-13. Whoso rewardeth evil for good, evil shall not depart from his house. And this is what the so-called white man has done. This is verse 15. He that justifieth the wicked, and he that condemneth the just, even they both are an abomination to Yahweh. And this is what the so-called white man has done, man. Is it by him consult a shame to his house? This is Proverbs 19 and 29. The judgments are prepared for scorners, and stripes for the backs of fools. Let me go to this one. This is Proverbs 11 and 29. He that troubleth his own house shall inherit the wind, and the fool shall be servant to the wise of heart. The fool is the so-called white man. The wise of heart is the Hebrew Israelites. This is Proverbs 15 and verse 27. He that is greedy of gain troubleth his own house, but he that hateth gifts shall live. He that is greedy of gain troubleth his own house. This is what this man has done. It's a lot of them, man. Proverbs 28 and 8. He that by usury and unjust gain increaseth his substance, he shall gather it for him that will pity the poor. All this man has done is through usury. Everything he done is through usury, man. Proverbs 13 and 11. Wealth gotten by vanity shall be diminished, but he that gathered by labor shall increase. Everything he did was consult shame to his house. Habakkuk chapter 2 and verse 9. Woe to him that coveted an evil covetousness to his house, that he may set his nest on high, that he may be delivered from the power of evil. See, they doing this, they taking back generational wealth and white privilege from the common Edomites, the common so-called white people, to house it up for themselves, so he may set his nest on high, that what? That he may be delivered from the power of evil. Because they need all the money they can get for them bunkers. They need all the money they can get, even though they control all the resources, they need all of it. They need all of it to go hide in the space station. They need all of it to create these billion-dollar sub yachts so they can hide in the ocean so the Leviathan can swallow them up. That has consulted shame. That has Habakkuk 2 and 10. That has consulted shame to thy house by cutting off many people, and has sinned against thy soul. Thy soul. That's what it said in Ecclesiastes 14. He sinned against his own soul, man. Because it's his people that's being destroyed. Ecclesiastes 14 and 4. He that gathereth by defrauding his own soul, gather for others, that shall spend his goods riotously. He that is evil to himself, to his own people, to whom will he be good? He shall not take pleasure in his goods. There is none worse than he that envieth himself. He shall not take pleasure. Salakia. And there is none worse than he that envieth himself. And this is a recompense of his error. The envious man have a wicked eye. He turneth away his face and despises men. A covetous man's eye is not satisfied with his portion, and the iniquity of the wicked drive up his soul. A wicked eye envy of his bread, and he is a niggard at his table. His table, man. Let's play this. These Edomites is falling, man. And this Edomite is complaining.
All right, guys, it looks like things are about to blow up even more in the Middle East. We are starting to get some concerning warnings from the Israeli government and the Iranians that their allies are ready to fight to the end, fight to the death, make this a war to end all wars. This means that our country, the United States of America, and our allied nations, we each need to begin preparing individually. Now, other countries are telling their citizens to get ready by buying food and water. Some of them are telling them to learn how to hunt or teach their children these skills. And we even have nations like Russia and China who are teaching their children how to repair, take apart, break down, fix, operate weapons like firearms, that sort of training happen, and how they would be perceived as children getting ready for war. Well, guess what? Other countries are getting ready for war, and we have nations like Switzerland, Germany, and Poland telling their citizens that World War III is already upon them, that Russia will soon begin bursting over the gates of the borders, and you bloodshed on.
And who's causing this? Revelation. Who's causing this? It's your people, man. Revelation 16 and 13, and it reads, and I saw three unclean spirits, like frogs, come out of the mouth of the dragon, and out of the mouth of the beast, and out of the mouth of the false prophet. And I got the videos. I used to have the article, but Esau take the article down about the three city states: London for monetary, Washington for military, and Vatican for the religion. and I saw three unclean spirits. It's called the Globalist Elite List. I still got it in my phone, but they won't let me pull it up on YouTube, on Google. And I saw three unclean spirits like frogs come out of the mouth of the dragon, and out of the mouth of the beast, and out of the mouth of the false prophet. False prophet is the Vatican. For they are spirits of devils, working miracles, who are controlled by the elites, which go forth unto the kings of the earth and of the whole world, to do what? To gather them to the battle of the great day of God Almighty. See, let's get this. Revelation chapter 9 and verse 12. One woe is past, and behold, there come two woes more hereafter. Revelations 11:14. The second woe is past, and behold, the third woe cometh quickly. What he just said?
Citizens that World War III is already upon them, that Russia will soon begin bursting over the gates of the borders, and you will see death and bloodshed on.
See, Revelation chapter 20, the red 16, because it said these three unclean spirits is joining the kings of the earth for the battle. Revelations 20, verse 7, and when 1,000 years are expired, after the Byzantine Empire went down, Satan shall be loosed out of his prison. Satan, another word for adversary, talking about the Edomites, so-called white man, came out of the caves of Europe and shall go out to deceive the nations, which with his Renaissance art, iconoclasm, which are in the four quarters of the earth, Gog and Magog, Russia in the land of Magog, to gather them together to battle, the number of whom is at the sand of the sea. What he just said?
Telling their citizens that World War III is already upon them, that Russia will soon begin bursting over the gates of the borders, and you will see one of the concerning things that we're starting to think about. I do have a note here from the recent disaster. We saw a hurricane completely level different communities, and the government was nowhere near to help. This says family communication. The cornerstone of a disaster plan is effective communication, establishing clear meeting points. Now, each one of these things reiterates what we have told you on this channel. You need to find a meetup place A. If that becomes compromised, you need to find meetup place B. You also need to be able to secure a location. You need to be able to watch or monitor that location. And you need some sort of signal to other members that, hey, I was here, it's either safe or not safe, and I moved on to another one.
Nawana, Lockheed Martin F-22 Raptor jets, fighter jets, 350 million. They claim to have about 186 of them. Don't forget tanks, helicopters, and missiles. Yeah, man. And now they got F-35s. They done upgraded the F-22s, the F-35s, man. Then they got stealth bombers. They got a jet called the TR-3B. They got a new jet called the NGAD. That's supposed to be able to go Mark 3, Mark 10. I don't know who's gonna fly that shit, but anyway, yeah, man, that's the Joel 3. Be the plowshares and the swords and the pruning hooks and the spears, man.
Know where to meet, how to get in touch, and how to get there, so there's no guessing. Establish an out-of-town contact. Select a trusted friend or relative outside of your area who all can contact. Key phone numbers in case cell phones are lost or not working. Designate meeting places. Select one near your home, such as a neighbor's front porch, outside of the neighborhood, in case you can't return.
In case you can't
Evacuation
return home. Yahweh Shah said that. Right? Let's read it. Yahweh Shah said that, man. Let's get this. What's that? Luke. Let's go to Luke 21. Luke 21. Let's see here. Yep. Luke 21 and 21. It reads, Then let them which are in Judea flee to the mountains, and let them which are in the midst of it depart out, and let not them that are in the countries enter therein too. For these be the days of vengeance, that all things which are written may be fulfilled. And there's another they say, let me see if I can find it here. The Lord said, whatever you left, let me see if I can get it. See if I can get this. Trying to find this precept here. Bear with me. Uh, where is it? Come on now. Forget where it said right off. I forget where it said. The Lord was mentioning about if you ain't in the city and it's going down, don't try to return to get your stuff out your house. Let me see this. Let me get this. He that be on the rooftop. I think it's in that chapter. Yep. Here it is. Matthew 24. I don't know why I don't know where this was at. It's Matthew 24 and verse 17. It reads, let's read 16. Then let them which be in Judea flee into the mountains. Like I said, Luke 21. Let him which is on the housetop not come down to take anything out of the house. Neither let him which is in the field, may be at work, return back to take his clothes. So if you working and these things go down, you ain't gonna be able to return home to get nothing, man. Cause then you might get caught, or you might be stuck. So that was the point I wanted to make. Ain't no going back, man. When this started to happen, so like it taking so long.
Plans involve deciding well ahead of time what to take with you and where to go.
Right.
Identify and
See, that's
practice
the point I wanted to
evacuation.
make. Let's play this back through ticks.
Neighborhood, in case you can't return home, a library or community.
See, hold on. Gotta go back a few more. See, everything is all spiritual, man.
Working. Designate meeting places. Select one near your home, such as a neighbor's front porch, outside of the neighborhood, in case you can't return home, a library or community center, and create a family plan. Evacuation plans involve deciding well ahead of time what to take with you and where to go. Identify and practice evacuation routes. Having a well-stocked bug-out bag or even bug-out vehicle box is crucial. They suggest preparing for this possibility as if you can't go home. Emergency management agencies say that you need things like a battery-powered or crank radio, cell phone chargers, battery banks, flashlights, first aid kits. Just let's take these boxes and make sure you have them in your kit. Extra batteries, a whistle, dust mask. You really need an N95 or greater. Plastic sheeting, scissors, and duct tape, moist towelettes like baby wipes in case you don't have access to yours. And then you need the higher tier thing. So just start ticking these boxes off for your family and make sure you have everything ready. The Alliance for Natural Health just discussed an article on the United States Department of Agriculture and other organic certifications.
Hey, it ain't nothing wrong with having that stuff, man. I know you better have it in your vehicle. If you at work, you might not be able to turn back home, man. And what if you do got it in your vehicle and you leave the plantation and it's looking like Walking Dead out here, man, with cars everywhere? Because when people start to panic, everybody get on the road, start leaving. They were showing that during the hurricane Milton. People were trying to leave and they were stuck on this bridge, sitting there, man, burning gas, waiting on the hurricane to come through, man. That's how you wind up looking like Walking Dead with cars everywhere, man. Because people start panicking, trying to leave the cities. Then the road's gonna be blocked off, flooded. It's gonna be blocked off with cars, flooded with cars, man. Then it's gonna be martial law anyway. So whether you get out or not before martial law come in and lock off the city, martial law gonna be in every state, man. You ain't gonna be able to get nowhere. But see, this is the carnal mind. This is carnal thinking, man. There were perplexity in 2 Thessalonians 4:8 and Luke 21. We're talking about not having no resources, not knowing which way to turn, mentally be at a loss. But this is what the so-called white man tell you, man. And it's gonna go down. As I said, as I read in Luke 19, he's might gonna set a trench. But this is only gonna come to those that's not paying attention, man. Like the brother put Luke 17. When you go to that Luke, let me go to it. Luke 17 and 26. Because this is what Jake is at. It reads, and as it was in the days of Noah, so shall it be also in the days of the Son of Man. They did eat, they drank, they married wives, they were given in marriage until the day that Noah entered into the ark, and the flood came and destroyed them all. Likewise also, it was in the days of Lot. They did eat, they drank, they bought, they sold, they planted, they builded. But the same day that Lot went out of Sodom, it rained fire and brimstone, which the Lord had these Edomites to create that same fire and brimstone to put it in a capsule with a head on it, with a warhead on it from heaven and destroyed them. Even thus shall it be in the day when the Son of Man is revealed. In that day, he which shall be upon the housetop and his stuff in the house, let him not come down to take it away. And he that is in the field, let him likewise not return back. See, Jake gonna be partying and playing, having a good time. 1 Thessalonians. And the Lord gonna pull up on like a thief in the night. 1 Thessalonians 5 and 1. But at the times and the seasons, brethren, you have no need that I write unto you, for yourselves know perfectly, that the day of Yahushua so cometh as a thief in the night. Because ain't nobody watching the Lord, man. Only the hopeful elect. So Esau, Edom kingdom, their last empire. Let me get this. Their last empire is falling, man. It's crumbling. This is Job 24 and 23. It reads, and though it be given him to be in safety, whereon he resteth, yet his eyes are upon their ways, because the angels are watching. They are exalted for a little while, but are gone and brought low. They are taken out of the way as all other, and cut off as the tops of the ears of corn. If it be not so, who will make me a liar and make my speech nothing worth? And when you cut off the tops of the ears of corn, you throw that into the slop, to the hogs, man. They go into the slop bucket. They get to the hogs at the end of the week, man. They are exalted for a little while, but are gone and brought low. They are taken out of the way as all other. All other what? The rulerships that came before, man. And the Lord showed the soft white man the Lord showed them favor thrice, man. And three times, all thrice of their rulerships, they screwed it up, man. Because of greed, as I read in Proverbs 15 and 27. He that is greedy They're greedy, man. And now they're taking it back from their own people. But anyway, I just gonna make some points, man. The so-called white man kingdom is falling, man. And you got Edomites. Let me get these two last precepts. You got Edomites that's bringing these points out, man. It's Edomites that's bringing this out. Psalm 64 and 8, Psalm 64 and 7. But God shall shoot at them with an arrow, suddenly shall they be wounded. When you read Psalm 64, 1 through 6, they've been shooting at us with an arrow secretly, with their laws, right? Their policies, their legislations, their democracy, their drugs, their guns, their food, their chemtrails. This is how they've been shooting at us. So when you read this, this is the end goal of this. Psalm 64 and 7, but God shall shoot at them with an arrow. See, this is how they're talking about them, how deep they was. So you know what I'm saying, but God shall shoot at them with an arrow, suddenly shall they be wounded. So they shall make their own tongue to fall upon themselves. All that see them shall flee away. So that's the end goal of that, man. Now the Lord shooting at the so-called white man secretly. How he was shooting at us. Chemtrail, GMO food, contaminated waters, drugs, guns, diseases. This how this nigga has secretly been shooting at us, man. Yeah. Now the Lord is shooting back at them, and now they are wounded. Last precept here, Job 15 and 5. For thy mouth uttereth thine iniquity, and thou choosest the tongue of the crafty. That's them, the so-called white man. Psalms 83, the crafty counsel. Thy own mouth condemneth thee, and not I. Yeah, thy own lips testify against thee. See? Yeah, man. And call out Yahweh Shema Shah. Yep. This is GMS Hawashana, Hawashah, Nawana, Jeremiah 50 and 22. It reads, a sound of battle is in the land and of great destruction. And when you go to this chapter, let me go to this. As a matter of fact, I'll close with this. In Jeremiah 50, let me go to the blue letter. This is Jeremiah 50 in verse 21 here reads, go up against the land of Marathaim, even against it and against the inhabitants of Pekod, waste and utterly destroy after them, saith Yahweh, and do accordingly to all that I have commanded thee. A sound of battle is in the land and of great destruction. How is the hammer of the whole earth cut asunder and broken? How is Babylon become a desolation among the nations? I have laid a snare for thee, and thou art also taken. O Babylon, and thou wast not, it say, and also caught, Shalaki, O Babylon, and thou wast not aware. Thou art found and also caught because thou hast striven against Yahweh. Yahweh have opened up his armory and have brought forth the weapons of his indignation, for this is the work of Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shah, power of hosts in the land of the Chaldeans. So this word Merathaim, let's go to this. And it say double bitterness, which is just America. America is bitter. It's a double rebellion, another name for Babylon. Double rebellion, man. It's a of harlots end of wickedness. Bitterness, angry, great, heavy, chafed, bitterness, bitter, man. And that's America, bitter. Yep, vexed, grieved, bitter. This place is gonna be destroyed, man. And just like this word here, bitter, right? It said double rebellion. Same thing applied to Egypt, man. When you go into it, Egypt, double straits. It was double straits, man. So Lord was edifying. You gotta give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashim Yahweh Shah, Bahashim Rekah Kodash. Give honors to the apostles and elder bishops and others of great millstone who rule well, who teach well, who are the apostles and elders of all of Israel, whether you accept it or not. And the sincere salutation to all the occupant pushing this truth and believing this truth with the full winds of the earth, the entire world. Shed light to the hopeful elect. Shalom to the world who are listening learning. If you sister will listen learn throughout to the end, may you have about Shema Shaka continue bless you in your houses. May the blessing of election be upon your houses. Till next time I say Shalom. Wahu Baba Ball 8. Throw out for your precepts. The water posting them precepts, man. So I'm gonna close with saying Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shah. Shalak Rayum, Wa Nashim, Wa Abadium, Wa Haragim, Wa Mashapayim, Ahokal Adawamium, Wa Gawaryum, Wa Yabyamna, Wa Bakasha, 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 Yahweh Bahashim, Yahweh Shah, the water, Amen. Shalom.